Hello, Pedro.
Hello, Agatha. How are you?
Thank you. I'm fine. I hope you're also fine. I hear you have a sore throat, but I hope we will manage to
I
keep
think so.
going. Yes, because the changes in VDA 6.3 are really a hot topic. So let's keep going with this. And as promised previously, let's deep dive in some of the changes proposed and made by VDA-QMC.
Let's go. Let me first make a disclaimer that I always do in this type of sessions. We are going through the changes, and there are still some open topics. As we speak and as we record, one of my colleagues is in contact with VDA to clarify some of the rules, for instance, for the auditor qualification. They have been revised, but if we remember also from the previous book, there were some rules that would be applied then only for people getting the auditor card, getting the exam. What we are now revising is if those rules will apply as well to the people attending the training. Because we know there are people attending the training because they need to have the qualification as auditors or even to have the card as qualified auditors. But there is also people that just want to know the requirements to implement them. So we are still on that process to clarify those requirements. But if we are going into deeper changes, VDA is saying this as a deep change, and it is a deep change, but it's not completely new because the previous version already talked about that. Software requirements. So one of the changes that we will have here, in my view, a continuing change, is the alignment of the VDA 6.3 manual with other manuals, such as the maturity level assurance, but at this moment also with other manuals as the automotive SPICE. So the method for the robust software development will be in force here in this standard. And I'm pretty sure that this will be a challenge for auditors that are more used to audit manufacturing, to audit hardware, let's say. So the type of software, when it is applicable, of course, is one of the major reinforcements for this standard. Some other changes are also occurring. If we remember the structure P2, 3, and 4, and P5, 6, and 7, let's say that P5, P6, and P7, there are no major changes. The questions, the structure of the questions is pretty much the same. But if we talk about P2, P3, and P4, yes, we will have changes. Not dramatic changes, but rearrangements and reinforcements in the standard. If you remember, we had, I guess it was P2.6 for acquisitions, for procurement. So it was under P2, project management. Now we can find that deployed to P3 and P4. So something that IETF is not very much detailed. It's not as clear as it is here. VDA is bringing, and it makes all the sense, is bringing all the supplier development activities, supplier development, supplier APQP, also for P2 and for P3 and P4, while it was only concentrated on P2 before. Of course, that we will have the P5, okay? But if you realize, the questions that we will have during P3 and P4 are the preparation so that we can get a good classification in P5. That's another one of the changes, along with what was a change from the last version that is still here, and that is still to get everything ready in terms of customer service by SOP. That's one of the topics that companies keep on having, a low classification, because IATF again is not detailed at that level. So many companies fail in those questions P3 and P4 in terms of preparing customer service. Some other changes, apart from the ones that we have been already going through, there will be also another change, and it's a detailed, even sometimes people were not very much aware of that, but if you remember, in P6, we have the turtle from P6.1 to P6.6. We classify the P6, and in the end, we have individual classifications for 6.1, 6.2, 6.3 to 6.6. But then there were the so-called handling and transport questions. There were not additional questions. There were questions that were spread in between 6.1 and 6.6 that later on the platform would collect the classifications and make a global classification for handling and transport. If you would like EU7 or 6.7, that classification has been dropped as well. I don't know the exact reason. I don't know also why it was already there in the previous editions. But the point now is that we will no longer have this 7th classification out of P6. Apart from that, there will be some changes, some revisions along P2 to P7. Some of them more generic, rephrasing maybe, or clarifications maybe. Some others with a little bit more impact, but here in the short revision, one that I'm remembering, it was the last question from P2, 2.7, I believe. That was the escalation model. Now there is still the last question, but it's no longer the escalation that has been deployed to other questions in P2. So in resume, there has been some changes. As we spoke about in the previous episode, comparison in between versions, it's not possible. And also along with these changes, not only these changes that we have mentioned, but star questions have been reallocated. So what could have been A in a previous audit can now be a B, or vice versa. Potential analysis also have been reallocated. So as it was expected, and as there is always when there is a revision of this type of standards, the committee, the team that developed the book, based on the comments, based on their own experience and from their companies, have reallocated and clarified some of the topics.
Okay, so pretty many changes. In fact, when we are listening to this, what you are saying, and definitely the nice for the auditor information is that the book itself will be thinner. So someone may think that it's less work.
No, it will not be. It will be the same. In the first audits, I'm sure that there will be questions, and during this phase, also what we are doing is to try to clarify as much the questions. And as always, when we are not certain or we don't have an answer, we forward the questions to VDA, and we will be also publishing those interpretations.
So thank you, Pedro, for these answers. I think it is really valuable information for all the people who are obliged to work with VDA 6.3, especially knowing that Volkswagen requires annual self-audit. Yes, and now we have to do in a new circumstances. Thank you very much. Let's meet in the last episode. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you very much.